Hi everyone, I am MD SHAMRAT MIAH. Today I am going to show you that how can we configure our home router in our home, and how can we configure configuration by our own choice at our home with DHCP protocol by computer or without a computer. I'm going to show you the configuration from my home router. So for this reason, I'm going to demonstrate with a home router and with a PC. So for the first time, so if I going to tell you about a home router, then and the home router should be now wireless. So I have to click on the wireless options from here, and when I click a wireless option from my Cisco packet tracer, so after that I will be able to find a home router from here. So I have to be take a home router from here, and I have to now take a networking devices. It can be mobile, it can be a laptop, it can be a PC. So I'm going to select a PC from here. Okay, so after select a PC from here, I have to make a connection from here. So I'm going to select a automatic choosable connection. It will by default connection, it will make a right connection from our between our router to computer. But at this point I am going to tell you that I can't this connection is not acceptable because this connection is under our internet connection. So if I going to make a connection between two PC or somewhere else, so that time we can use this internet connection. But at this point, from our home router to our computers, at this point I have to be using here gigabit Ethernet connections. Okay, like this I am going to show you this. Okay, I can't use internet or options from here. My before connection was internet connection. So at this point I have to be using here gigabit Ethernet one, because the gigabit Ethernet one is comes from our ISP provider. So from my home router to computer connection, I have to be select gigabit Ethernet connections that's provided from ISP server. So after make a gigabit Ethernet connection from router to my computer, we can able to now we can able to make some configuration. So the one things I have to be tell you that when you buy a router from a super shop, so that time we have a lot of questions that when I buy a router from super shop and when I install my router at my home, and after that when I get a Wi-Fi access from our computer, from our laptop and from our mobile, so what I will be do that. So what is my router IP and what is my computer IP? So at first I have to be tell you that after when you buy your home router from a super shop, so you don't need to change, you don't need to think about IP address with our router, because router has the DHCP protocol, and under the DHCP protocol our router has a default IP address. So from our router DHCP default IP address, our PC can take a IP address from our router. So if I click on for this example, I am going to click on my computer, and after double click on my computer, I am going to select desktop. Okay, after click on desktop, when I click on IP configuration, we don't need to give an IP, because if we think about our static way, so at that moment we have to be give some IP, we have to give IP. But if we like DHCP protocol from our router, so we don't need to give any IP address, because with the DHCP protocol, router always give a default IP to our computer. From this way, I just select DHCP protocol, and this DHCP protocol give to us an default IP to my networking device, like as computer or mobile, like as 192.168 0.100. So this IP comes from my router, because router has an DHCP protocol IP, and the DHCP protocol router gives to us an default IP. So here is our default IP 192.168.0.100, and we have our subnet mask 255.255.255.0, and we have our default gateway, and the default gateway is 192.168.0.1. So the default gateway which we are getting from our router, from our home router, so this default gateway is our actual IP address to our router. So this is a default IP address to our router, and from this section we are we, we are going to understand that always default gateway is an IP from our is an IP to our router. So from this configuration we are able to understand that we don't need to check our router for routers on IP address. From this default gateway 192.168.0.1 is our router IP address. Okay, so when I buy a router from a super shop, and when I install it in my home, and after plugging to our electricity, the router has its own protocol DHCP, and DHCP has and with a DHCP protocol the router is able to give an default IP to its networking devices, like as our computer IP address is 192.168.0.100. So this is our computer IP address. So my audience and my students, you should keep remember this IP address on our PC, or what we get from our router, that is 192.168.0.100. This is our computer IP address, and it gets from our router, and our router IP address is 192.168.0.1. So this is our router IP address. I told you to remember those IP address, because I will now go to my router, and I will show you later that those IP address comes from router. Okay, now I am going to double click on my router. Okay. When I double click on my router, virtually it is giving us a picture, the backside of our router. So in a backside of our router should be look sometimes. Yeah, most of the routers has the same graphical mode. If we check our own router backside, then we will find the same things. Here is two antenna, here is a plug-in to our electricity, here is a switch on, switch off, switch, power switch on, power switch off, and here is an Ethernet port. So by this Ethernet port, here will be a wire will be installed, and the wire will be provided by our ISP. And after this Ethernet, we have a 4 RJ45 connector. From those connector, we can make connection with wire to our computer, to our scanner or printer. And nowadays, the modern and latest router, if you buy a router, then you will find one more option. There is a reset option. So there should be a small hole, and on hole you will find a small pin, and if you just press that around 20 for around 20 or 30 seconds, then the whole router will be reset, and all the default information will come out like the first time. So after this graphical explanation, we have to go the GUI mode. So with this GUI mode, what we are going to see in here, that here is our network setup. So from here, our IP router IP is 192.168.0.1. This is our router default ID. This router default ID we had already know from our computer, when our computer gets its own IP by default from our router by DHCP protocol. So 192.168.0.1 is my router's default IP. So this is a subnet mask, and DHCP is enabled. So we can enable from here, and start IP address is 192.168.0.100. So I told you before that we should remember the IP address from our from our computer. So that IP address was 192.168.0.100, and this router can give service maximum 50 users. So this this router can provide 50 IP address with under DHCP protocol. So the last IP address should be 192.168.0.149. So this it will the last IP address will 149. So 100 to 149. And if I go wireless options from here, then sorry, then here is the standard channels. So this is also very important things, that if you are using a not a very latest router at your home, then the router can suitable for 2.4 gigahertz frequency. And if you are using a very latest router at your home, then the router will very suitable for 5 gigahertz frequency, and you can access those frequency from here. Okay, but nowadays our latest router can suitable for both, like S2 to 2 gigahertz frequency to 5 gigahertz frequency. That's not a problem for our latest router. Now from here, if I go in here, wireless security, from here, that every maximum suitable frequency has their own security protocol, like as 2.4 gigahertz frequency has a WP security protocol, WPA personal security, WPA enterprise, WPA2 personal, WPA2 enterprise. Every security level they has their own characteristics, and one one to each is very it's a very, and you will find difference one to each. Okay, one to each another, you will find some difference from one to each another security level. This security is very important because the Wi-Fi, the router, wireless router Wi-Fi connection is very vulnerable, because when you install a router uh, at your home, then your neighbor can easily access that network, and he can hack your network security. So the security should be very important on your router. And if I go the setup options again, you will find internet connection type again. So the internet connection, from the internet connection type, here is now stands with automatic configuration DHCP mode, because I told you before that our router is now on DHCP mode with our computer. And now if you get any static IP from our ISP, then ISP provider, then you can use static IP. If you get any triple P point to point access from ISP, then you can select this triple P point to point. So it's not it's our basic configuration. So now what I'm going to show you that when you buy a router at your home, plug into your electricity, and cable connection or cable connection without cable connection with wireless on your mobile or computer, how can we configure all the systems from your router? Because at this moment I told you graphically uh, by the router, but how can you do it by your networking devices like as your mobile or computer? So you have to be open your mobile, go to your web browser, and open your web browser, and you have to give the IP address on your router: 192.168.0.1 and go. You have to give a username and a password now. I have to make sure the IP address from my router. So I'm going to double click on here. We need to wait a little bit. Okay, just a second, please. Yes, our router IP is 192.168.0.1. Yeah, that was right. So my mobile web browser or my computer web browser, which has already connected by wireless. Now my router IP, enter, and every router, it has its own username and password by default. So default is admin and admin, and password should be admin by default. Maximum of the maximum of router has a default username and password like this: admin and admin. If I click on here, okay, then the configuration page will turn on now. So by this way, from our mobile computer, we can configuration everything. So like this way, we can configure our router from after install it at our home, and no need to call any technician for configuration anything. So we have our basic idea. We can do it by our own self. So today's video is enough for these topics, and I hope that I'm going to make another video for something else on cybersecurity. And I hope that from this video, if you work on Cisco packet tracer at your home, then your concept will be very clear and strong after practice this, and after my and I hope and believe that you will enjoy my next video very much. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.